There we go. Sorry about that. And that's fully back up now. So my router, that was in between the Wi-Fi router and my PC and all that, seems to have just randomly stopped working, or at least supporting that port. I have no idea why, but now they will leave me alone because it's fixed. Thank you. So does anyone have any questions about this ship? Like, the experimental weapon on it looks really nice. It's got a decent debuff on it. Is it going to be the best experimental weapon? We're not sure. You know, that stuff takes time to test, but it looks like it's a solid option, especially for your energy weapon builds that are going with a bit of exotics. Oh. You did, Ranger? That's terrible. I'm missing all the fun stuff. Okay. I'll show that briefly again. So you hit Ox to Bat once, it drains all your Ox power. Okay, your Ox power's in really, really low. When you hit Ox to Bat immediately upon, the next time it can be activated, you're only splitting that 9 or 4 Ox power, whatever's left, and the rest comes back. So if you time things right, you can do Ox to Bat with exotics. Is it better now? Like, or am I still stuttering? Okay. So it was my entire net acting up. Okay. That's always fun to hear. Has anyone got any other questions about this? I'm gonna do an ISA pug. I gotta put this sad trait on. Is the experimental considered as exotic damage? No, it's kinetic. It just has, wherever it goes, it just has like a little gravity well type thing that is not buffed by exotics. I imagine let me see here. Is that at least buffed up by Control X? No, it doesn't say it. It doesn't even give the pull value. Let's see here. Why does this keep flashing? There's some project up somewhere. Oh, Gamma. Run a bit too heavy on the Spire console, so I'm going to drop one for another phaser. Vulnerability locator. Yeah, Ranger, I sent you a team invite. Oh. I hadn't queued yet. I just sent you a team invite to guarantee you're in here, so. Oh, you joined the queue. I see. That's fine. I'll just go in and pug. Okay, there's the pop. This isn't going to be any record-setting numbers or anything. It's not a super serious build. It's just more of a... I would say this is a bit more of a casual build, even though it's not really casual, but yeah. To me, it's more of the have fun build, not peak DPS. Here we go. Good, that can be carried. I should hit DPR before all that stuff. Okay, so that was interesting. That was very poor flying on my part and buff timing. But thank you for making that a fast run. And no, I will not switch to kinetic. Switching to kinetic just is not a viable option. Let's look at the display capture here. Let's get SCM over on this. I need that superior upgrade. I'm poor. And I got it. Good. Window is jumping around on me a bit. So even though I was running a phaser setup, the Terran still managed to out DPS every other cannon, even though I wasn't using any disruptor consoles or any of the cannon stack consoles. Terran's just that good. Nothing too special here. The experimental weapon is still Mark 12, so me getting that upgraded would do quite a bit more. The console 1.9k, it's to be expected when I'm running an Oxtabat build and not really buffing it. Pet-wise, good fleet support. My pets, the actual pets I had equipped also, they did 12.1k. It's not bad at all. That was still a very bad run on my part, piloting-wise, but it still did 200k. So, I guess we'll take it. I think that's all the show with this ship for the moment, because I want to get over to the Juggernaut, go over the builds I discussed on Discord. But quickly before I do that, let me just see if anything is sold. Maybe get some gambling in quick. Yes, a few things have sold. Okay, if any of you want a chance at getting one of these superior area denial KDF trait boxes, put your just put an X in Twitch chat, and I'll randomly select some people to send them out to. Put your @ handle in with it also, for your PC users specifically. Yeah, put your @ handle in. Sorry, I should have said that first, but there's a bit of delay on the Twitch stream, it seems. Okay. Yeah, those are the KDF trait boxes, so enjoy them. And I'm dragging things around on accident. I need to get this SDO window. There's like a black bar at the bottom. There we go. That's better. Just give me a minute here. Sorry, I'm doing multiple things at the same time. I put up some Reddit posts during the maintenance earlier, and they're getting a bit of attention. Yeah, no problem. I'll be giving a few more away. Like, if you've already got one, I'm not going to send you another, but to other people that actually want one that are on PC on the KDF. Because I may have just a few of those boxes sitting around. Just a few. 120 left on this character alone. I haven't looked at your response yet, Ranger. I really haven't had much time. I posted that almost right before streaming. Like, before starting the stream, so... yeah. Lots of multitasking. I'm going to go over my Juggernaut build from the HSE record I set yesterday of 422k DPS. Let me, I just need to go set that load up back out, so just give me a minute here. Because that loadout in specific was not the most ideal ever. It used specific things because I was in with a team that could handle some stuff. Okay, so the weapons on my Disruptor builds are all basically the same for the Juggernaut. This one specifically is for going in with a very high-end, a very high-end team for Hive Space Elite. Specifically, I was running things that I normally wouldn't run, and I wasn't running some things that I normally would run because I knew that I had people in the team that were doing certain things for me. So I have no colony attack consoles on for this because I knew that I had a dedicated tank in there. I had very little survivability at all. Yeah, I had Florian in there, one of the best tanks in the game. We had a really good Psy in there, and we had 2 other solid DPSers. But, I wasn't running attack pattern beta because we had so much debuff from the team, and I wanted to try mixed armament synergy instead, and it worked in the run, so it is how it is. I don't think it's the most optimal. In fact, I think this build could be improved in some ways, but yeah. I got the video of it, there's just no audio. I'll link it here in chat. Just give me a minute. Yeah, I put the video on Discord. And there's the link to it. That's the 422k HSE, but it's got no sound on it. It was it was just under 2.5 minutes. It was a really high-end team, really solid setup, and there's just a lot of luck, specifically in that run. But I opted to go with a Disruptor setup. Phaser technically has the lead by about 1% if you run certain sets and consoles, but I find that often I don't really have room for everything to do that, and I just prefer the Disruptor loadout. Phasers and Disruptors are so close that I don't think it makes too much of a difference. I mean, I might have been able to get a few more K using Phasers, maybe 430 at most. Like, that's probably pushing it a little bit, but probably closer to 425, I guess, instead of 422. Like that's the difference between Phasers and Disruptors. Basically, is probably like 2 or 3k at that DPS level. And the Disruptors are just easier to run with. I prefer the Spiral Waves and all that, so I just went with my Disruptor loadout. But anyways, just going right back over that quickly, this build is entirely specialized for the high-end team. It's not the type of build I would run in most HSEs. So the first weapon is, of course, the Terran Task Force Disruptor. You can't re-engineer it or anything, so it's just stuck with stock settings. Then I have a wide arc sensor linked disruptor DHC. I've went with crit D on everything because I'm sitting around 70% crit chance now, so I've made the swap back over from damage to crit D. And then on my Spiral Waves, I've got 3 Spiral Wave Disruptor dual cannons. Duals are better than dual heavies wherever possible, due to them having more chances to proc Chemosite-laced weaponry. And then for these, I did crit D times 2 crit X, with the crit D / damage epic modifier, of course. I went with crit X because it's a mod and a half. It's just slightly better than the crit D, basically. My deflector's a fleet colony deflector, pretty common nowadays. Then I have a competitive rep engine. So this is the variant that procs on hitting heals. I have a Fleet Spire core. I really like the EPS and weapon power cost reduction on these. For the shield, you can go with whatever you want. I should have been using Iconian, actually, over the competitive. The Iconian has more shield capacity, and it removes a debuff every 10 seconds, so it's really solid. Sorry, just taking a drink of the coffee here. Let's see. So the Spiral Wave turret, crit D, / damage, crit D2, crit X, same as the dual cannons. Then I have the House Martok Disruptor. So this has a nice 2-piece with this engineering console, which we'll look at in a minute. But the 2-piece gives you 2.5% crit chance and 15 accuracy rating. And I am using that to trigger the Mixed Armament Synergy Bridge Officer ability. And then the last turret here is the Heavy Biomolecular Disruptor turret for the Counter Command 2-piece. With the Counter Command Multi-Conduit Energy Relay. Pretty common console and turret used on Disruptor or Phaser builds. Devices, energy amplifiers as usual, Temporal Negotiator, and Subspace Field Modulator. I just went over the Universal Console, the Multi-Conduit. The Engineering Consoles from left to right, Timeline Stabilizer, Domino, the House Martok Defensive Configuration Console. I'm using that for the 2-piece, which is, once again, the 2.5% crit chance and 15 accuracy rating. Then I have the DPRM on, which is always a must-have. Right below that, I've got the console from the NX, which gives you some crit chance, has a decent clicky, but the 2-piece is 33% Cat 1 for Phaser, Disruptor, and Plasma damage. Then I have the Bio-Neural Infusion Circuits for the crit severity. This can be replaced with the Protomatter as needed. And then I have 5 Disruptor Vulnerability Locators. Bridge Officer-wise, I was trying a few different things here. This is not optimal. I'll just say that a few times. I think that there's room to squeeze more out of this build. Starting over here at the top left, the Universal Ensign is set as an engineer for emergency power to engines 1. That then, of course, procs the standard emergency con hologram. Then over to the right, we have the Commander Tac / Miracle Worker. So Chemosite 1, Mixed Armament Synergy 1, Narrow Sensor Bands 3, Scatter Volley 3. So narrow sensor bands gives you a nice damage bonus the closer you are to a target. Think of it as a much improved version of point blank shots, I think it is. It's a very large damage buff. The Lieutenant Commander Tac / Intel, I've then got Beam Overload 1. I'm using Beam Overload over Fire at Will to proc the colony attack consoles more in most runs, but I also am using it over Faw just to make sure I'm not pulling more threat to myself. Yeah, point blank shot. Yeah. Okay, Ranger, yeah, I'll see you around. So the only dual heavy cannons you ever want are your set ones usually. But I mean, if you see a dual heavy cannon cheaper than a dual cannon, go for it. The difference is so little, and the only noticeable impact is less power drain with dual cannons, and they proc chemocytes slightly more. It's where, like, if you see them like being much cheaper, just go for them. It's not going to be too much of a difference, but it's enough that if you can afford to go for the dual cannons, go for the dual cannons. Usually they're cheaper anyways, so. Back to the stations. The Beam Overload 1 procs the colony consoles when I run them. It's out on a 15-second global cooldown compared to Faw's 20 seconds, so you can proc them more. If I were using the other colony engines, I could use this for faster proc. But I just didn't want to pull too much threat to myself with Faw. Then I have OSS2. It's a very nice ability. I just hate how it often knocks my weapon power offline. Keeps to go for that more than anything else as of late. And then I have Rapid Fire 2. So I'm using this as a hybrid setup in HSC. So at about 80% through phase 1, when we're on just there's like the 2 or 3 tac cubes way at the back, I just right click and drag down the rapid fire where the scatter volley is. The transition there's not really difficult at all. Then on the Lieutenant Commander Engineer, Emergency Powered Weapons 1, Oxtabat 1, Oxtabat 2. I was messing around with a few things on this Lieutenant Psi. I tried Hazard 1 with ERB 1, I was trying Structural Analysis with Hazard 2. In the 422k run, I happen to have been trying the Structural Analysis one, but I think the Hazard one with the DRB one would be a better choice. That's it for the bridge officers. Traits, Anchored, Context is for Kings, Superior Cannon Training, Self-Modulating Fire, Intense Focus. These are all pretty standard DPS traits, so I won't really spend time explaining those. Fleet Coordinator, Romulan Operative, that could be swapped out for something else. Probably Pseudo Submission in slower runs, or you could even replace Point Blank Shot with the Pseudo Submission. Then of course a Good Day to Die. If anyone has any questions about this too, feel free to ask. I'm just breezing through this because I want to show a few different build variants. I've got Emergency Weapon Cycle on for my first Starship trait. Second one is Go for the Kill. Third one, I had Calm Before the Storm on. I would usually be running Cold-Hearted there, but I had someone on the team that was running Cold-Hearted, and being Cold-Hearted does not stack. You only need the one person in the run using it if they're hitting a bunch of things, so just have the Fob Boat run Cold-Hearted and you're set. Then I had Withering Barrage on to extend the Scatter Volley, and then so I had both Go for the Kill and Withering Barrage on. That's common for these hybrid builds at the high end. And then my last trait is the Weapon Emitter Overdrive, the Juggernaut Trait, which I've went over before. Space rep-wise, Precision, Advanced Targeting Systems, Magnified Firepower, Enhanced Shield Pen. The Shield Pen, very nice for HSE. And then Controlled Countermeasures. Then the last thing here, Intel primary, Constable secondary. Now this Constable secondary is going to be making a few people be probably a little bit surprised. So a few days ago I was thinking to myself that, we have so much crit chance that Strategist doesn't really have too much else to offer us. You get the crit chance, so up to 3% crit chance and 20% severity. Nothing over there to really care about. But that's really it, is 3% crit chance, 20 severity. Constable, on the other hand, gives you a damage buff. Let me find it here. Yeah, it's this here. Okay. So, Tier 2 Constable, whatever your antagonist is, you get 10% Cat 2 versus them. Then, for having all the points filled out in Constable, you get 25 Armor Pen versus your antagonist target. Now, in advanced queues, Constable sucks because everything dies too fast, but in these elite queues, even if you're on Scatter Volley, you're getting this Armor Pen and the increased damage versus attack cubes, so it really makes sense to be using this over Strategist on DPS builds in Hive, and probably the other elite queues. Because that 25 Armor Pen, the 10% Cat 2's gonna be more valuable than the crit chance and severity when you already have so much crit chance and severity. Let me see what I just got pinged on for the Reddit Discord. Wow. Ranger. I see how it is. Ranger pinged me twice. Sold the trade I sent him. That's mean, Ranger. And he sold it to H2O. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about this build before I swap over to something else? The Dossier, I'll go, I forgot those. Emergency Con Hologram, the Energy Weapon Officers for crit chance and severity, and 3 Technicians. Very common. There's nothing out of the ordinary there. I'd say really the biggest changes that should surprise people are the Constable secondary and the fact that I was running a build that was basically, I guess you could say it's like the HSE form of nannying, where I was not running a bunch of things because I had teammates running them for me. Yeah, Feedback Pulse is OP. But, I hear I can get good if I use kinetics instead. That was such a troll comment from Spartan. She knows how much I love kinetics. So this part of that was like a serious response, and some of that was joking on that stream yesterday. Okay, I'm gonna... Yeah, there's no questions, so let me just go over what I swap. Let's see, actually I had this list on Discord. Let me see, what did I say I was going to go over next? Okay. Scatter Volley Disruptor that I use for ISA. Okay. Slap Cold Hearted back on. So the difference between the build I just showed and what I'm about to show is I'm dropping Go for the Kill for Cold Hearted because this is ISA. Do you want the speed and stuff? I'm dropping Point Blank Shot for Deft Cannoneer. No, the sad trait does not stack. You don't need anchored in these ISA runs, they just go too fast, so you can really run anything. You could even do Duelist Fervor. Intense Focus takes too long to build up for these fast ISA runs, so you could run anything there yet again. I don't think it really matters, I guess. Let's see. Inspirational Leader, I guess. Don't really matter. Have I tried? No, you're right. Cryptic often lets things get through broken like that, so it probably is broken. I think that's it. For all what I changed. Well, for what I changed trait-wise. Change over to Strategist for ISA because stuff dies too fast. Okay. So, do OSS 3 instead of OSS 2. Put a Beta 1 where the OSS 2 had been, and that's it for that. Gear-wise, pretty much leave the gear the same. And I don't need to go over the gear again because everything stays basically the same. It's just I make those few changes in the buff layout and traits. And that's the transition from the HSE build to the ISA. Like, that's it. Does anyone have any questions about this? I'm guessing no questions. Okay. If anyone watches this later on YouTube, this mess of like a video that it'll be, feel free to ask any questions you have. I'll be back to you as soon as possible. I guess let's move on to the next build. So, CRF Disruptor for other elite queues. Okay. So I need to grab a fourth sensor link, or not sensor link, a fourth spiral wave, to replace this wide arc for this build. This is the pure rapid fire. It's a lot of things change, you see. Swap this withering barrage for go for the kill. Put intense focus back on. Drop duelist fervor because stuff takes too long to kill for it to be of any real value. Reslot anchored. That's almost it. Swap constable back on, and that's it. That's the rapid fire disruptor loadout. If you need a little bit of survivability, slap on a few colony consoles. Like, it's really not much of a change. And then the next build, the last one that I had that I wanted to show off was the Polaron loadout with just pure rapid fire. Is there any questions at all before I swap off the disruptor stuff fully? Is the Martok two-piece really worth the console slot? Yeah, I've been liking it. I actually picked the idea up from MB. He got me into running this two-piece. Though I've had this before. I used this for some PvP stuff back in the day, but um, I was using something else initially for this for the Omni Beam. So I'll get to the comment on the preferential targeting in just a moment. Martok instead of Trilithium because I'm using a disruptor setup. This Martok two-piece, the 2.5% crit chance is very good, and then the 15% for the 15 accuracy rating, you know, that's always nice. I guess there is some added survivability benefits from this console, being it gives you max HP. So that's helping your DPRM and Protometer if you have those on. And I guess for this disruptor build for elites, I'd swap that over to Protometer, drop the Bioneural for it. You know, Trekkie, that is a good point. I believe that's worth it if you're doing like a pure cannon or beam build and you're using beams or cannons consoles, but I'm not a fan of running, you know, a different damage type with the exception of the Terran. Like the Nexus 2 piece there. Let me find it. The thing is, it is only 5% firing cyclase, which that's a 5% real DPS increase essentially, but still, it's I don't find it's worth it unless you're running cannons consoles in that case or something else. Okay, I'm gonna swap to the Polaron loadout. Oh, I did not want that on. What else can I put there? Spy on Earl again. So with this Polaron loadout, I used the Lucari advanced piezo Polarons. These have a special proc with cannon rapid fire that deals electrical damage, and it's a substantial amount. Like, usually it's enough to bring this piezo pretty close up to being competitive with like the Terran or Prolonged. Then I have a wide arc Polaron, which I could swap out for another one of these Vodwar dual cannons or dual heavies, crit D4. Colony deflector. You know, all this stays the same. I should have the Iconian shield back on, which I need to upgrade. You know, a lot of this is very similar. It's just different flavors, essentially. I've gotten the Gamma Advanced Inhibiting Polaron Heavy Turret. This can be re-engineered, which is very nice. I've then got a Vodwar Polaron turret. And for the Omni Beam, I used the only Omni Polaron that I have. I don't have any others, so I just went with this. It's the Chronometric Polaron. I'd love to be able to change the modifiers on it, but that is not an option. Console-wise, what did I drop here? Okay, so I dropped the NX console and I dropped the multi-conduit. Okay. So I'm running the Gamma Rep 2-piece, so that's 26.3 pull around. Let me look here. Yeah, and then 10% turn rate. Let's go like this, and I would replace this with another locator if I had one for Polaron. Because I feel like the crit chance would be more valuable, or a colony Polaron console. Okay, then the other change is this piezo electric focuser. This is in the 2-piece with the piezo dual cannon. So it itself is 39.4 Polaron damage, Cat 1 of course. Then the 2-piece is another 15%. So that's a very solid 2-piece to be running. And then everything else is basically the same, just Polaron flavored instead of Disruptor. But as I said, I would drop this Gamma 2-piece for another locator or colony tac console if I had one. Traits and all that stay the same as the Disruptor Rapid Fire build I talked about. If I'm in some place where I need more survivability, swap this out for colony tac consoles. Which I just picked these up earlier, I need to upgrade them. And everything else is these... Wait. I messed this up, hold on. This should be the engineer with emergency powered engines. Where is it? But yeah, everything's the same. And this should be beam overload. If you want to do preferential targeting instead of calm before the storm, you can do the fire at will. And yeah, someone asked about that preferential targeting. So calm before the storm is what I've been preferring recently. It takes 20 seconds to build up, then it lasts for 20 seconds, so 50% uptime. While it's active, you get 33% firing cycle haste, and your bridge officer abilities recharge 33% faster. So this firing cycle haste is huge. Your weapons are firing, substantially faster while this is up. Is there any questions about this? And also with the Polaron loadout, you get the benefit of using or buffing up the Juggernaut array quite a bit. There's a nice number, 146.5k. Though I've seen people with much higher buff numbers for it. So are there no questions at all about this? Or any more questions, I should say. Just looking at stuff popping up on Reddit, Discord, and a few others. So the issue with Fluidic Cocoon in a lot of situations for me is you have to take kinetic damage, and yeah, that is easy in some situations, but in the runs I was doing, stuff was dying too fast to shoot any torps at you, so the only real procs you could get Fluidic Cocoon off of are Warp Core breaches, and in Hive Space Elite, with how much survivability I was not running, I did not want to take any Warp Core breaches. But if you're doing ISA, I guess you could do fluidic. It's personal preference, really. If only this the Fed Romulans could get the trade and console and all that real cheap from the new Lockbox ship. KDF for lucking out on this one. Just gonna post a few more of these up for 6.5 mil. Just checking Reddit again quick. So I posted this a little bit ago. I just dropped the link in Twitch chat there. Just a few hours ago. There's a lot of people out there that are worried that that cannons are overpowered, and this is just going around talking about how they're balanced for the elite queues, like the hardest elites. Doing cannons with some of them can be a bit of a struggle still. Like, you're not instantly melting things with cannons everywhere. I mean, if you take any build that is geared for elite content into advanced or normal, all of them are going to melt whatever is in that lower difficulty content. And that really gives people a bad idea of these builds, about them being OP and stuff. So there's a lot of discussion going on there. I'd recommend taking a look at it. Anyhow, I'm going to give away a few more of these superior area denial traits for KDF on PC, so if you want a chance at one, put your @handle in chat on Twitch. Don't put yours in if you've already got one. Yeah. I'd very much like to see people actually go out and try this hard content, then come back and say that cannons are OP. Yeah. They're not going to up the difficulty. To a large portion of the player base, normal's difficult. I mean, look at how many posts you still see about people complaining, about the Romulan ship in that one mission. Like, we basically one-shot it, it's no issue, but to a lot of the people out there, it is an issue. And I am going to be flooding this market quite heavily. What, open all the packs? Let me just go and show how many of these packs I have. This character has another 100. Oh no, I'm not going to put them all on right now. I'm going to wait for the first batch to sell and then post more. If I flood too many onto the market, I undercut the price. Way too much. So I really had 120 on that other character because I just opened that box at 20. Here's another 167. Surprise. You know, Joe, I've never met you before. Like, I've never sent you anything before. You see, surprise was too hard to type, so I just had to copy paste it. Yeah, Joe, you were the only person to, put your at handle in. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, there's not much competition. I know. I've mailed out, what, like 5 or 6 of the traits? So a third of you have already gotten one of the traits off me. Half of the people here are probably not actually people. So it's only a few people that haven't actually gotten the ship. Or the trait. That's what you wanted to see. What What are you excited about? You're worrying me, Agent. Wow. Terrible. Okay, let's grab this new elite pet. Elite Mirror Federation shuttlecraft. It's like your timing of it. I was like, "Are you really? You're that excited to see this? You're really enthusiastic there. It seemed." I need to change this boss layout though. It wasn't working out very well for me. Let's see. The Gravwell is useful no matter what, but I'm not going to really be getting much out of the Vortex, so I'll do DRB. The resistance doesn't scale with Ox, so the damage will be bad, but the actual debuff will be fine. What rep marks do I need on this character? So what you're saying is that I need to go do an ISA with them and see how they parse. Because that's what it sounds like you're saying. I got 2 minutes on cooldowns and I'll go in. Need to put Beacon of Kalis on the tray. I already have it on this character. Well, where is it? Oh, it's right there. Jeez. I'm blind. I couldn't even see that on the tray. So, did you see that comment from Spartan? You know, the get good one basically about projectiles? If you're getting one shot in Hive Space Elite, you know, from the feedback pulse, maybe you should not do that much damage, you know? Maybe you should use kinetics. It's essentially what it was. Which is funny, because Spartan knows how much I hate kinetics. Like, I've known Spartan since before she was a dev there. Like, she knows how much I have hated on kinetics in the past. But also just how ineffective they are. Like, the only way I see a Tort build being even viable right now is a Psi Tort build. Like, I did the stuff with the single Torp and the rapid fire with that, you know, high yield spam, the subspatial warheads. But I just don't see how a pure kinetic build can really get far compared to other options out there, like a Psi Torp. The Psi Torp is just so powerful right now. You know, I actually like how the ship looks, so didn't mean to do that. That's fine. Let's go into ISA if anyone wants to join. It's ISA public queue. Queuing now. I know I gave everyone such a large time to get in there. Large amount of time. There we go, pop. George, you can carry me again. It's a good start. I think I need some survivability. I mean, it was still 148k, which is still, like, decent. That was just a sloppy run. That was special. I don't really have much HP. 87k. That really is not much. I'm not using Threatening Stance, but I still like to have it on the tray just so I can make sure that's, you know, not toggled. Last thing you need is Threatening Stance being over on some random tray that you forgot you have a keybind on, you know, and toggling. It's, you know, it's the last thing you really ever need. I need to evaluate how to get more survivability. Which I know how to do, I just need to figure out how to cram the stuff on this build. The Eichel Shield. So I'm not using the competitive 3-piece. So this 2-piece isn't really anything special. The Iconian Shield, I need to upgrade to Mark 15, but it just has a solid amount of shield capacity, and the debuff removal is really good on it. Oh. I don't have to wait for the upgrade event. That's easy. Okay. Nah, that don't look good. I need to go mess around the tailor with this thing at some point. Thinking about some stuff right now with this build. I'm gonna try something. Let's go rapid fire. We'll use fire at will to trigger the sad trait. And I won't need as much survivability with rapid fire. I want to just go somewhere and shoot some stuff. Let's see. Hello, Bam Bam. I really wish we had the Foundry right now. There's some Foundry maps I'd like to be messing around in. Actually, how am I doing on Terran marks? Not many. So I just swapped to rapid fire, and, you know, because it's such a smart move, I'm going to go to the Terran battle zone quick just to do one little section, get the daily. Oh wait, didn't they... Oh, Tholian Red Alert's back. Let me just do that quick. Scatter Volley would have still been better here, but I don't know. Thank you for the follow, God of Rage. Warp core breaches are my #1 enemy right now. That was too close there. This is very hard content, you see, this Tholian Red Alert. Gives you like next to no marks too, doesn't it? 63. With the proper AoE build, you can nuke this in about 40 seconds. Actually, I want to go do that quick. I feel bad for you console players too. Like, that UI. I don't know how I could handle playing the game with that UI. Like, you guys don't have the ability to, you know, set up trays and keybind them. You have to rely on that layout. That's just frustrating. I wouldn't be able to stand that. You see, people talk about cannon builds being OP, but these are the builds right here that are really what I would classify as OP. Nice. What's left? Oh, stuff that died in my stuff over there. Lovely. But like, that was a minute, okay? Yeah, space magic, the Psi Torp stuff. You know, I would say that is the most powerful type of build in the game right now. If we're looking at an overall, like, picture, if we're not looking, you know, at ISA, HSE, if you're looking at how many other Qs, this Psi Torp stuff is so powerful. You know, it has such a huge impact on a map. Kurt, I'm truly sorry to hear that. I'm glad you enjoy the stream. I just hate hearing that you know, that you know, you like it more than playing the game yourself. That's frustrating hearing that about their layout being that bad. What do I need here? Dyson. So I haven't even started Gamma on this character. And you guys don't have the foundry over there, do you? Like, I don't think you guys do. Well, we don't even have the foundry on PC because it's been down for how long, but the foundry is pretty nice. A fill all button is going to be very helpful for these reps. It's too much clicking right now. Yeah, that's always been an issue with STO, is they come out with something and then they abandon it. Multiple systems are perfect examples of that, including the ones you had made your post about, Bridger. Like the Armada system, they dumped that out on us, and they talked about like increasing the amount of fleets that would be allowed in, and then nothing happened. Yeah, they're working on a fill all button. Part of it is over on, but well, it's on their internal servers. They had part of it on Tribble, and then they took it back down. It'd be a nice Christmas present from them. I'll check Reddit again here quick. I got another notification. That last part, the second to last there, the traits being alphabetical, that didn't even happen for PC until earlier this year. Okay. I did not mean to hit that. Agent, you know, this is STO. This is the real STO content. This is what you actually do in the game. You do your dailies. You gotta fill your rep dailies. You gotta do your contraband, your admiralty. It is the actual end game for most of the player base. That's the sad thing. Yeah, I would love to help more fleets out, but there simply is no room in the armadas. You know, the armadas are full. So many high level armadas, like they're like this. There's no room. I'm just tossing random ships. I just want to get to the tour duties. See ya, agent. We have no fleet marks in our armada. That is, you know, and that actually is an issue that's popping up. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, there's a lot of dead fleets. But just to show this, I showed this earlier. Okay. There's a Phoenix prize pack coming up on the 20th, for those that are not aware. So have your dilithium ready. The lithium might go down a little bit on the exchange also, so be ready for that. What's it at right now? 314? Jeez. Now is a good time to be selling your Zen. Because that Phoenix pack coming next week, it should go down a little bit, maybe back down closer to 300. The issue overall, though, is there's no dill sync right now. I was thinking if they wanted to, you know, get some more money themselves and also get players to stop complaining about it, they could have these epic or ultra rare tokens. Have it so like you could go in here. I'd prefer it be ultra rare, of course, but have a thing in here where you could go and buy like a thing to make any ship have a 6th mastery, you know, to make it an account-wide unlock. They'd make some crazy money off that, and it would actually, you know, that would be a dill sync because you'd have people with a new reason to go and buy a bunch of Phoenix packs. But I mean, even if that was an epic, that would be okay. I mean, you'd have people going nuts for that. Use an epic or ultra rare token to make it so you can make your Vodwar Juggernaut an account-wide ship. I'd be raking in money. That's unlucky. Yeah. It'd be very nice, Bam Bam, but I don't see them doing anything nice like that anytime soon. Yes, 8 DOF slots would be nice. I know nothing about those. I'm just starting Admiralty up on a few characters, I guess, because I need to get some dilithium, and when you get these things up to certain levels, what is it, like 5 and 10, they give you a bunch of deal. That thing's high heavy. The Domino's not even in there yet. Domino probably won't be in there until early next year, because they'll do one around the anniversary event. Because you need the Bajoran Interceptor for that. But yeah, that would be the only way to get Domino if you missed the original event. Let's see here. I need 30 psi and how this works. Yeah, it's not the best system ever. It's especially what really sucks with the Phoenix ships is they're not account-wide unlocks. So you're spending, you know, easily you could be spending over $100 to get an epic token, and then it's for one character. You know, they've tried to say over the years that they're moving in a way that's very alt-friendly and all that, but their actions don't really support that statement. That's good enough. I mean, yeah, you can look around on like STO builds. There's quite a few builds posted that don't have Domino. They just use some other DPS boosting console instead, like a set console or a low buy. No, there's multiple options out there. It really is just any other DPS console at that point. I'll just toss one more ship at that. That's always fun. You get a raid up there to 8 and you don't have room. Oh. I just was hitting shift. I haven't claimed the Gamma Recruit rewards, so I do have an additional slot I can grab here. Yeah, the Phoenix, like the epic tokens, are about a 1 in 1,000 drop rate. It's really quite absurd. A lot of these little bugs, like you just saw there, where it didn't give me the additional slot right after I'd claimed the additional slot, they could be fixed easily with a map transfer. It's always something you should try before going around looking online for issues. Is just when you have stuff like that happen, or a trait you just activated isn't there, just log out of the character back in or swap maps. That's all it takes. If anyone has any questions about stuff, feel free to ask. I'm just doing Admiralty on a bunch of characters. Actually, I need a little bit of attack there, so. %70 crit chance, yeah. Let me get this project done, then I'll swap back over to that character. That's a good point. Break down how we're getting to that high of a crit chance. Like, MB was up at 80 even. How to get to DPS channels, you have to parse using a, like, you're either going to be using Combat Log Reader or SCM, STO Combat Meter. Those are the two different parsers that each get you into a different set of channels, because there's two different DPS channels in the game. I personally use SCM because I'm an admin there of those channels, so just upload the parse and we send out uploads at least once a week. Or we send out the invites. The first channel to get into is DPS 10k, which is 10k in ISA, then there's 30k in ISA, 75. There is a PS4 sitting less than 10 feet away from me. But it's my sister's, and I can't stand to use a controller. Yeah, but I have a PS4 near me. It's just... Let me put it this way. If I had to start now in this game, unless I was willing to invest a ton of money, I wouldn't stay around. Like, the reason I am still playing this game is because I have had so much investment in it over the past 6 years. And that is both time and money, and the social aspect of it. But if it weren't for having that investment or having, the social stuff in the game, I wouldn't be playing this game. Because I think, that there have been some good things that the developers have done, but what they have given us as a product, it lacks substance at endgame. It's just... It's a very repetitive grind that ultimately you have nothing to show for it. There's no reward from running elite queues that is substantial. You get nothing from doing the hardest content in this game. If I go do Hive Space Elite, when we do these HSE runs, we don't even collect the rewards at the end because the rewards are nothing. The rewards are actually a negative for us because we can't run the queue then for another 30 minutes. So we just warp out before scanning so we can go right back in. Like, the rewards from elites, they are a complete joke. There's nothing really you get out of doing all the work you put into stuff. Like, all you get out of this game is what you make of it, essentially. It's rather frustrating, but anyways, yeah. Thank you for the follow. Let's go into the crit chance. So on some of the builds I was doing, this should be fine. Let's go do an ISA run with this exact loadout, see what the parse looks like, and look at the crit chance. Dude, so it's ISA public queue, and my beam overload is not on my tree. No worries. Proto matter, apparently. Let's... So my base crit chance here, when I'm just sitting here in Soul System, is 35.3%. I'll do this run and then have a look at what the crit chance actually ends up being, and then we'll go from there to figure out where all this extra crit chance is coming from. You're downloading this game. What is suggestions for a new player? There's this very nice 10 forward guide on Reddit. Read it. That is my suggestion. That is the #1 suggestion right there. Just, it'll give you an idea of what you're going for with builds. Or, well, even starting the game. The big thing is, really, with this game is just having a solid build that's your foundation. Like your ship build, your ground build, all that, that's your foundation. Then your piloting, your player skill, takes it further. I'm doing a rapid fire build, so this is going to be a very bad ISA, by the way. Yeah, they got it. I'm gonna be the full team player here and just go to the other side and nuke it. Don't do what I'm doing. You see, I can't even transformer dope. I do too much damage. Sphere over there. That's a good question. The Vengeance is going to be a superior ship still. Um, they're like competing in different sectors, those two ships. So this new heavy escort carrier, well, it's essentially what it is, heavy escort carrier, I guess. Not the exact term they use, but close enough. It's a decent ship. The issue with it is the BOF seating, where the spec seats are, because you're doing an Ox to Bat build. If the Temporal and the Lieutenant Intel, if those were swapped, so the Temporal was on the Lieutenant Engineer and then the Intel was on that Lieutenant Commander, you'd be able to do OSS 3. But they've got it set up for, like, your exotic energy weapon builds, like where you're doing the cannon psi type stuff or beam psi. Like MB TSA Dork here, he would be able to tell you more about that because I haven't run that stuff in ages. Because I've been doing Ox to Bat so much. Like it's a different type of setup for a different type of playstyle. For traditional DPS with your weapons, the Intel Dread, the Vengeance is just such a better option. But this new ship is still solid. I mean, I did a 200k with it in the first run. It's decent. It's just not going to beat the Vengeance, especially. The Vengeance is just too solid. Like, you can run OSS 3 easily on that if you want. But this thing, let me swap back to it. We'll get to the crit chance in just a second here, I'm sorry. With this, like, with how I've got it set up, which is a traditional DPS loadout, you know, the only place that could even fit OSS was right there on that Ensign. if I'm doing aux to bat. If I were doing single aux to bat, which that requires a bit more investment, but that's possible for Fed. If you run some Crenims and stuff. You could do OSS too, but I don't know. It's really a weird layout. It's just such a different type of play style that will benefit from that layout that it's yeah. It's hard to compare it because it's going to depend on the pilot and the specific build. I'm pulling the parse up now. Okay. So let me just go back here. Get this crit chance back open. We need a calculator also. One right here. One parser's just reanalyzing that. Okay, so my base crit chance, as you see there, 35.3. Okay, let's break down where did the other 35% come from, essentially. So we got to figure out where did 35, come from. Right off the bat, we know that 10% of that came from the Juggernaut Trait. Okay, so we just got to figure out this last 25%. I'm running Strategist Secondary. When you hit a heal, that gives you 3% crit chance. There's -3. 22 left to find. 131 of this weapons specialization skill. Each point of point of that is 0.04 crit chance. So let me just go. Okay, so there's 16.7 left to find, basically. 0.75, 76, whatever. Let's go. This stuff stacks up to 3 times. There's a potential 3. Where else can I be getting crit chance? Also, just to clarify, this 131 here, you have a separate category of crit chance for your weapons, bigger exotics and all that. It's just, they don't show that here. What you see under attack is your global crit chance, your global stats. So your exotic abilities are going to benefit from this, or that's their crit chance before other things come in. For weapons, this is your crit chance before you get into stuff like the weapon specialization and other buffs you may be using. So we had 14 crit chance basically left to find. So, what's the cooldown on alpha? 90 seconds, okay. So let's figure that out. You've got 90 seconds. 22%, okay. 1.1. So if you divide that, the alpha crit chance, which is the 5%, by the uptime, we'll just have that as the average crit chance you get from it. So that leaves 12.7 to find. And let's see. So you got to factor in, of course, there's going to be accuracy overflow. What else on here would I have that would be given crit chance, though? Okay, so that's going to be giving me some more accuracy rating. Trying to think. Most of the things that give me crit chance, that's most of them that I can think of. I'm going to have to say that last little bit, which is 12.5% basically, that's got to be like that's a combination of ACK overflow and just the RNG with crits, because the buffs are counted in there. Like if I remove an SRO, it's just none. My crit chance goes down. Reslotted, it goes back up. The Romulan SRO trait, that's included in your crit chance because that's global. What warp core engines am I running? So engines, I'm running competitive fortified, the ones that proc based off of heals. Gives you a little bit more control than the firing cycle version, the innervated. And then for the warp core, I'm just running a Fleet Spire warp core. Nah, I don't need a spoiler for anything. What faction for a new player? I would say the Romulan. Romulan faction is one of the most fleshed out. I felt the Romulan storyline was one of the better ones. Personally, it's really, that's personal preference. Like, you can experience them all, but Fed is a solid starting choice for sure. Romulan is cool, but you can really you can have quite a few characters, so you can do everything. The event warp core, I mean, for a freebie build, but I haven't looked at it. I don't think it was anything substantial, just good for a freebie budget option. But the Fleet Spire core is already pretty cheap. It's like 12k dill, I think, and not many fleet credits. So I believe the rest of that crit chance, just getting back around that, I would have to say that's definitely that last 12-13% that was missing that I couldn't account for. That's a combination of ACK overflow and just the RNG in the run. Yeah. 120%. My power transfer rate, where is that in here? So that was up at the top. Yeah, I'm around this 286. You get a nice bit from the Spire Warp Core. Then I've got the 2 points in EPS in the skill tree. Yeah, Romulans get a lot of things really cheap. Yeah. I feel it's just a combination, you know, the Juggernaut trait, then that between, I don't know if you have that, I'm guessing 45, 55, you don't have the Juggernaut trait. And then it's just the variants and runs. I'm reading Discord. Oh, jeez. Just go through and make sure this guy isn't in any chat channel. Okay. Let's take nice preemptive actions. Dude, this is nice. I just took, very nice preemptive action against that guy spamming the gold seller website. It's muted, kicked. Make sure he's not in public. Good. Talk me through the Juggernaut trait and the arena meta. Kaiser, I gave up on PvP. I haven't PvP'd pretty much all of the year. If you want to, talk about arena meta, you'd probably be better off talking to Dragon or Omega. The Juggernaut trait, it increases your weapon power cost, but it's easily countered. I'll go and show you the trait. This game is no pay to win. The good thing is you can get through pretty much all of the stuff in the game for free. You can even grind out a lot of the things if you're very patient and put the time into it, but there are very much pay-to-win aspects of this game. I mean, you can't even deny that at this point. They just came out with a promotional ship that is the top PvE DPS ship by quite a large margin, and it's locked in a pack that, on average, you're going to be spending $150 to try and get for one character. This is the Juggernaut trait, this weapon emitter overdrive. Increases weapon power cost by 50%, 10% crit chance for weapons, plus 50 accuracy rating. But yeah, I mean, you can do quite a bit. That's gonna keep spamming. Lovely. You can't actually ignore this stuff. That's not who I wanted to ignore. It's not going to disappear now. There it goes. There we go. It does like micro grav wells. I don't know the range yet. I haven't messed with it that much. Okay, hopefully you can't spam me anymore. It's a bit annoying. No, I think applying this, you know, about the game being pay to win. It's, you know, we can try to sugarcoat it that, you know, that there's not that you can get in and do pretty much most of the content in the game without, you know, paying, you know, and doing all the stuff. But like, if you want to actually stay around in the game, if you want to get certain ships, there is a lot of pay to win. There's no denying it. Like, if I want to go grab this new Juggernaut, that's 1.2 billion EC. That's like 150 bucks, 200 in some cases. And you get that for one character. It's really annoying. But there's a lot of things I would say that are pay to win if you really want that power, especially for PvP. PvP is pure power, or pay to win, I should say. Hello, Husker. I need to make sure I didn't accidentally ignore anyone else. And ignored her. Okay. I will link that to you. I've got a picture. Bridger had sent it to me because I haven't upgraded mine yet. There it is. Right in chat. Just checking the Reddit Discord again. It's always a lot of fun stuff popping up in there. And more notifications on Reddit. I mean, there's been a little bit of stutter. Just seeing all these messages on Reddit. Don't see too much lag right now. I hope they get this foundry back up soon. The DPS channels have got a few things we want to be doing with the Foundry. You know, we got DPS Mark in there. We got DPS Under Fire. Those are our solo parsing maps, and I've got a Juggernaut here for a contest I want to do. You know, involving those, getting people to run those and all that. And we can't, you know, do that because the Foundry's now been down for what, like 8 or 9 weeks? It's crazy how long the Foundry's been down. I'm gonna grab a Loba. Yeah, Foundry's been down for ages. I believe it was back up after Victory is Life, and then it went down with Discovery. Yeah, with Victory is Life, it was up. Even, like, it was up the day Victory is Life was there. This game easy to learn. I don't think it's too hard until you get into some of the really complex, like, math. Like, there's just some simple concepts that will be explained in that guide I linked you earlier. Like, when you're doing a ship build, you do not want to slot beams and cannons on the same build. There's a few exceptions at endgame, but in general, you don't want to do that. Like, if you're using beams, you use all beams. Torpedoes, unless you're doing a really specialized build, a side torp or something else, you only ever want to have 1 torpedo on, and you want that to be 4. You usually don't want to torp aft. Like, there's a bunch of general concepts that you'll get used to. Just read those guides, and I don't think it'll be too much to, you know, too hard to figure out. The price of these low-buy ships is just nuts.